Hi, I'm Sean Tierney. I'm going to be going through a Sportlogiq product talk here for LINHAC as the representative for Sportlogiq and give just sort of a quick 10-minute breakdown of what our platform currently offers our partners. So just very quickly about me, I'm Sean Tierney. I'm the Director of Hockey Services at Sportlogiq. We're a data provider working across NHL, AHL, SHL, Hockeyallsvenskan, CHL, USHL, and beyond. My background, I was at Charting Hockey on Twitter and had my own website for several years. I was also the director of analytics for the Hamilton Bulldogs in the OHL for several seasons prior to joining Sportlogiq in this role. So I want to give a quick overview of some of the main pages that our partners use when they log into our UI. The UI is one component of the many ways that our clients are able to access the data that we track and provide. The UI is one, and I'll go through that today in the 10-minute spot that we have. When our users log in, they land on a league at a glance page from which they can navigate around to whatever tools they need for the given job on that given day at that given time. We paint a picture of where teams fall compared to each other within the league in terms of expected goals, which is kind of that bedrock metric, the nicest and perhaps most comprehensive starting point for how teams are performing, organized in scatter plot form, which is something that's near and dear to my heart. After a league at a glance and getting a sense of where the teams land and navigating through some of the data that's clickable there, there are several ways that a user may go depending on the role they play with the team or the job that they're trying to do. One is it may be a games breakdown in particular. So for live users of the information during game, they may log in and track the scoring chances, the shot attempts, the power plays in game live to watch the score and the expected goals and to get a sense of momentum for the teams that are playing. So this is something that is updated with every game that we do. Video is a key component to what Sportlogiq offers to its partners. There are a number of different ways on our UI to get to the ways that we provide video. This is one where by game, although also by season, you can access the different events that we have tracked. You can select and unselect. You can view them in different ways. You can set different filters to find specific sets of views that you want to use. You can look through the plays that are available on the playlist and then jump into the playlist to do the edits, annotations, and sharing that you need. That's something that I'll show in a little more detail in just a couple of slides. This is a really popular feature for our users, that it's not just the data, but also the ability to see the data in action, to get those clips to share and export as a game review, as a pre-scout, or for player breakdown, player shifts, whatever it may be. Again, there are about 1,000 ways on the platform in one way or the other to get at the data that we provide. One popular way is our season report page, which by team, by situation, by date, by opponent, by score differential, on and on, provides data to help understand how teams are performing. This can be clicked on to check how players are contributing in each of these categories. League context is given, the ability to manipulate the filters to get specific ranges as a pre-scout or as a 2-week review of a team, to download the data, to print it, to customize the metrics that you view. All of this is available on the season report page. This is one place where you really get a taste of just how much is available through the tracking that we do. The list, this page goes on through a couple hundred metrics and is fully customizable for the user to whatever it is they're looking for. Our scouting reports page. So again, thinking of all the different roles that may show up on the UI looking to get their job done. The scouting tool is key for allowing users to identify entire rosters, position groups, or players of interest, and to drill down on the ways that those players are performing. We have a variety of different categories that we share showing the performance in different metrics. These drill down and drill down and drill down to get very, very granular. High level summary notes are kept for players on the side. All of the players are clickable with their own customizable player page to break that player down even further. And this page is great for comparing sets of players or entire rosters at a glance. So again, another one of those features that allows a different member of an organization to get in and get the job done that they have. Our combos and pairs page is worth a view as a place that provides some of that key context on how different members of lineups are performing together. So this page is something that can be filtered again, as all of our pages do, in terms of manpower situation, date ranges, the specific groups you want to see, the players that you want to filter down to in those groups, minutes played, on and on and on. And getting that high level visual picture and data on how different combinations are performing. This is really powerful for unlocking different groupings within a roster that either are or aren't performing the way that coaches and management are looking for, and giving that information that's needed to either go have that conversation that's needed, make that roster change that's needed, make that tweak to how deployment is happening live in game right off of this page. There are numerous ways to break down face-offs. There are face-off pages, there are face-off pages by player, there are face-off video selections, there are face-offs in the game reports. Face-offs are one of those key components where the game stops and coaches, for that brief moment in a hockey game, have the ability to set a play, position players where they need them, know the matchup, and hunt for that outcome that they're looking for. This is one of the myriad ways that our users are able to access performance broken down by the dot, get at that video playlist to help look for player tendencies, whether their own team or as a pre-scout, and to get that breakdown of strong side, weak side, DZ, OZ, and get really granular. And my experience in my time with Sportlogiq is that there's no metric that coaches want to get more granular on than face-offs, and something we service. Game reports, which I pointed to earlier, it's one thing to note about the games, the level of detail that's provided for these as well. The game video section, the full report section, and our box score, these are all pieces that we can see at a season view for teams, but are also available pre-filtered down as a game post-review availability. So you can look at the game summary, which we've already seen, go back to that game video page, but filtered down to this individual matchup, get the full report from the long report list that we saw but for this game, or access the detailed box score that we've curated to provide information on the players from that game. Our data hub is one of the most popular spots for data analysts that log into the platform. This is the place where you can slice through the thousands of metrics that we track per game. This is done at the team, skater, or goalie level, within date ranges, with all the different filters and pro ratings, and periods, and manpowers, and on that are available. All of this is downloadable. All of this is shareable straight from the UI as well. And we have realized the value of linking these to video. And so any metric that ties directly to events, we provide that quick link into the video straight from the data as well, all part of trying to drive together those conversations between different users, that those working with the data, those working with the video can share those conversations and sort of see each side of the coin by being connected in this way. Then our video page is worth sort of a quick overview as I get short on time. This is where users can go in to create that playlist, to pare down from the list that they have down to the events that they want specifically, to annotate, to trim the clip, to edit the lead and trail, to share the playlist with the player, to share the playlist with someone else on the staff. This is the place where you can go to make all those edits and to view the video, to see the event, and to watch what it is you're trying to watch. And that runs me through my time. So this was a very quick dash through some of the functionalities of the Sportlogiq UI, and I'll flip myself up for questions at this time.
Thanks, Sean. Third time out for you, so thank you for being with us. And I've got some questions now. You guys are dominant in Sweden. You have the SHL and you have the All Swedish League that you work with, so all the teams work there. So in Sweden, Sportlogiq is a very popular name. I'm going to get tough with you. How reliable is the data?
Yeah, it's a great lead. The kind of thing I think you can ask when we've spent as much time together today as we have, Mike. So good to be with you again. Very reliable, and I like the percentage to say what it is in terms of accuracy, as near perfect as it's going to be. I don't think anything in this space you're ever doing yourself a favor if you say 100% accuracy, 100% across the board. But we really do pride ourselves on that ability to track the metrics faithfully, and then have the quality assurance processes on the other side to ensure that everything's meeting the standard that we set. The best part for me, and the part that helps me really sort of stand on it, is that we link to video, as I pointed out in the presentation. And so anything where there's a question where someone needs to see it live to know that it's real, you can click and you can go see the event itself with the video, and you can gut check anything at any time. So really fortunate to be able to stand behind a product that is so nearly perfect, as close to perfect as you're ever going to be in a sport like hockey that's as fluid as it is. So definitely a strength, something I don't think anybody will tell you it's 100% when you're doing data tracking in this way, but we're close, and I'm really proud of it.
I don't know if you can give out the situation or the question I have now, and we see which teams are following this conference, for example, and we see all Swedish teams, we see SHL teams. Can you see which team uses your product and Sportlogiq the most of all of the teams in the SHL and the All Swedish League?
Yeah, certainly we can, and we try to keep track of which teams and how they use, so that we can make sure that we know which pieces of the platform are servicing our clients best, and which ones need to be tweaked in order to be as functional as possible. Never would name names, but I think we're really excited about the adoption in Sweden, both at the pro level and at the Hockey Allsvenskan level, that we get those reach outs, we get emails regularly from the teams asking questions about the data, or asking about logging into a certain area, how does it work, or could you explain it or talk it through. The time zone difference that we're managing here, conferences like LINHAC have found ways around it, and we've been able to do that too, both by having boots on the ground there in Sweden, and also just by being really flexible on both sides of the ocean in terms of our time that's available. So really, really good adoption sort of across the board, and really love how often we're able to sort of interface with the teams and hear the questions they're asking, get that feedback, and make sure the product continues to grow and be sort of a living space that isn't finished yet.
Now, saying the worst team I wouldn't ask you to do, but the most avid user of Sportlogiq in Sweden, the team, that's a positive thing for a team, wouldn't it be, to tell them?
It certainly would, and I'll still duck it, but I will say that adoption is really broad and wide, and really happy that so many teams are open to making the data part of their process. And I think, if you're looking for clues, any of the viewers that are joining the conference over these few days, you can see the names of the people who are in the conference who are speaking about their teams, and it's really, really broad and wide. So it's exciting to see the growth.
Now, would you say there's 100% buy-in from the teams in Sweden, or would you say 85% or somewhere in that in between?
Sure. Yeah, I would say those are fair numbers to cast. I think for some teams, it's just the way you go about using it. So for organizations in Sweden, same as the NHL, there are some where there's a main point of contact and all questions and all thoughts come through a singular person. There are other organizations that are a little bit more broad in their approach and which people reach out at which times. So sometimes you have a different sense of the heartbeat of a team and who's going to be the person that reaches out. But in every case, there's good evidence of just how much teams are looking to pieces of the data for pieces of their process. Some teams more, some teams a little bit less. But again, just super excited about how positive the response has been working with these teams. And I think there's just room to grow. I keep saying, we've had a couple of chances to talk today. Seeing these teams grow their staff and growing comfort with exposing different members of the organization to the data providers, coaches, scouts. We want to see that adoption and make sure that we're providing the tools that do many jobs, not just the data analyst job.
We had a goalie panel here today talking about different issues, and they talked a lot about the mental issues and putting the goaltenders in the right frame of mind during the situation and using analytics to do that. Jonas Gustafsson, a former NHL goalie and a Swedish goalie that talked about putting himself in the best position with positive reaction. When you and I talked a little bit earlier, you had said that, well, for us, for the forwards and defensemen, it's to put what's happened and show them through statistics or analytics and the different ways this is what's happened. And you didn't think that the mindset was where Sportlogiq was gonna go. Does that mean that the goalies and the forwards have something different, or can one company or one product help both the skaters and the goaltenders?
Certainly, I think one product, as long as it's diverse, can tackle a number of different things. And I think my lean is that I don't want to tell you that data is going to measure someone's grit or someone's leadership directly in that way. But if we're talking about goalies and their performance and looking for evidence in the data that can say, here are some things you're doing well to build that confidence, you can certainly do that through data if communicated and presented correctly. So for us, we have entire goalie dedicated sections with visuals on shot targeting and performance and clips that go with shots and saves in those particular zones. And I think, not that Jonas Gustafsson may have been speaking about this directly, but this is something you could take as a coach, as a goalie coach, to your goaltenders and say, look at these areas of strength. Look at how you're reacting to pre-shot movement. Here are the places where you've really performed well in the last 5 games, last 10 games. Here are places that we're going to work on these sorts of pre-shot motions, these sorts of net front screens that seem to be giving trouble. So when we think of it in terms of how do you build confidence for goaltenders in particular, I think the data can still be a really powerful tool as long as the person wielding it is sort of approaching it with the right language and the right mindset, that there are ways to take the data and point to areas for growth and areas of strength too. And certainly goalies would be part of that.
Let's talk a little bit about the future. And now you can't say tracking because you've already said tracking, and that's the big data and that's coming. What other kind of improvements are we going to see, let's say in the near 12 months, in a year's time, 1 year from now when we have the LINHAC Hockey Analytics Conference 2023, what will we be talking about there? And again, let's leave tracking aside because we've already heard about that.
Sure. Fortunate to be in a position where those sorts of ideas are what I spend a lot of time with. What's the next thing we can do to help teams get better? I think one place that's really interesting where there's been public research done and maybe a little bit less on the private side or for the industry members is chemistry between players up and down a roster. And I've mentioned this before with you today, Mike, that I think in a lot of situations, player evaluation is powerful because it tells us about strengths and weaknesses for different players. But the conversation can't stop there. And the answer can't always be go and sign this UFA, go and attract this AHL player to come join your SHL squad, go and sign whoever, draft whoever. You're often working with the roster that you have, and you're trying to put the pieces in the best places for success. So how can we take the data, look at the player types, and figure out which players are likely to bring out the best in each other from a chemistry point of view, so that that roster that you have today, we're not trying to ship anybody out. We're just trying to rework that roster into an optimal sort of situation. So I hope when we talk again in a year, you and I can say, here's the chemistry tool, courtesy of Sportlogiq, and it will optimize that roster for you. It's a little bit of a holy grail. I think, I hope that we can get there, and it's something I spend a lot of time thinking about for sure.
So what you're saying is that after a game, you lose a game, coach goes in, hits a button, and then all of a sudden the new lineup comes to him. These players would play together better than what you had them playing together.
I mean, this is maybe a dream scenario where you can call it coach assist, right? And maybe I'm throwing away some product branding. But right, that idea that you could say, here's a likely lineup that could have success, and that updates over time and really empowers you to see, what dials you can turn with the lineup you have today, and really gives the coaches that sort of second sober thought on what they can do with the lineup they have to get the most out of it.
Sean, thank you very much for being a part of this again. Thank you for explaining things from Sportlogiq, and good luck in the future.
Okay, thanks so much, Mike.